I wish more people would say, like, you can still do the things that you did before. You just will find a different way, and that's totally fine.
Step right up, folks. You're now entering It's a Circus, where parenting isn't always a show stopping act, but it's certainly entertaining. I'm your host, Elsa, here to prove that no one really knows what they're doing, and that's perfectly fine. Let's have some real conversations, peel back the layers, and remind you that you're never alone in the madness. Let's get the show rolling. I am thrilled for this episode to come out. This has been really exciting and a long time coming. Laura is literally one of the first people I met when we moved to Florida a couple of years ago. So I love just chatting with her, and I think you'll see some really inspiring things, and her story has some great insights and beautiful passion around how she lives her life and how she navigates her family. So let's get into her bio. Laura's story has always been rooted in movement. With a background in dance and gymnastics and now yoga, she's learned to approach life with grace and balance, whether at work, home, or on new adventures. Today, Laura is an analyst with the National Park Service, where she built a career that can afford unique opportunities to be behind the scenes of historic moments, cross paths with presidents, world leaders, and work alongside colleagues whose stories are just as rich as the landscapes they protect. Beyond her professional world, Laura is a wife of 2 little ones. She finds joy in yoga, family time, and exploring the world. She fully embraces this season of mamahood with all its beautiful chaos. No matter what the setting, she brings curiosity, connection, and the same steady grace she first discovered through dance. Let's get into it. Here's Laura. Hello, welcome Laura to It's a Circus podcast. I am so excited to have you here. I would love for you to share with us your mama stats. So, how long have you been a mom for, and have you always wanted to be a mother?
Thanks, Elsa, for having me. So I am a mom of 2. My oldest, Leandro or Leo, he's about to turn 5 next month in July. And then my daughter, Liliana, just turned 2 this past week. So 5 and 2, 3-year age gap. But yes, I've always known I wanted to be a mom. I was that girl that was always playing with like dolls or playing house, did babysitting. So I always loved kids. Um, and then to add to that, I was adopted. So that was a huge part of like my desire to just honestly want to have a child, someone that looked like me. Because growing up, I did not. I lived in a very predominantly white town, and so there was no one that looked like me, and that was back in the '90s. So all the movies and whatnot. There was princesses that I was like, oh, it would be so nice to like. Once Aladdin came out, I was like, oh, okay, that's someone I can somewhat relate to. But something kind of growing up, I always thought it was kind of silly. Like, I just want someone that looks like me. But now I have these
Right.
babies, and they are my minis, and I love it. So,
Oh my gosh. That is so beautiful and so sweet. So, adoption, I imagine, had a lot to kind of. Can you talk to us about the process of adoption? Was it an open adoption? How old were you? What was that kind of initial experience like?
sure. So, I was adopted at birth, and I've always known the story of my adoption. My parents have always been very open about it. Um, I was placed in foster care for, I guess, the first, when I was a newborn, and then I was in an agency where my parents got to get me. My mom and dad, who are my adoptive parents, but always have been mom and dad to me. And
Mhm.
so, like I said, I've always known that story, and they did a great job of making me feel special and never making me feel like less than. And everyone, I say I grew up in this, just a very, um, a town that just didn't have a lot of diversity, but no one ever actually, I never felt less than in any way. So I always felt like, okay, this is cool. Like, this is just a unique part of who I am. Um,
Right.
and I do remember, growing up and knowing I look different from my family and whatnot. But I always just, it was part of who I was and my story. So part of the story too is that my birth mom, I'm Cambodian, and so she during the 80s there was a genocide in Cambodia, and a lot of people
Mm.
were refugees and fled the country. So she came to the United States and had me, and that's when I guess she knew that she was not able to take care of another human, and so that also has played into the role of when I became a mom and just understanding like how hard that decision must have been, and like
Oh,
the
man.
all the things that she not only had to go through, but how it's kind of carried on through my story as well.
Wow. Yeah, that is incredible. So she had you actually in the States.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Have you tried to reach out to her or talk to her, or are you guys in contact at all?
No, I never have. It was something that I had always wanted to do,
Mhm.
and I was open to finding her. But honestly, the older I got, the less of a conviction I felt to do that. And then, truly, like when I had kids of my own, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm very much at peace with the fact that I
Right.
may never have a relation, I may never find her because I wasn't actively looking. And
Hmm.
she actually also had me, I guess, in her late 40s. So she was quite older.
Wow.
So I'm not sure, if she's still with us to this day, but
Mhm.
I do, of course, I think about that, but I'm very
Mhm.
much at peace with the fact that I've had this, surrounded by love with my parents, and that
Right.
that's
Hmm.
really all mothers and parents are trying to do is. And so I think again, my parents did an amazing job of that, and that's definitely shaped, my journey to motherhood.
Oh my gosh, totally. That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. If you were to talk to you and tell yourself, some things around, um, finding how motherhood has shaped you, what are some things that you would tell your former self before you became a mother?
That's a loaded one.
I know.
I think that I don't know. I guess everything that you think you know about motherhood is true, but to a much deeper level. Like you think of loving someone else, but you don't know like how intense of a feeling that can be. And like, you're going to be tired, but like what that actually means, and then taking care of another human being. I think just, everything that you think of, even just like the cute moments, the messy moments are actually living and feeling them is truly undescribable. And I know everyone has their unique stories or their own experiences, but I think that's something that before I became a mother, it's like, okay, I know what it's like you have to change diapers, you have to feed them, all this stuff, but like
Right.
the
Right.
day to day, and also taking care of yourself, I think
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing too. Is I've always been about balance, and so just kind of striking that balance where it's like you have needs as a mom too, and but the kids they come first, especially at this age. Lily's 2 and very vocal if she needs something right away. So just kind of taking all those moments in stride, because in one moment you are you know about to, go crazy. And then in the next moment, so sweet to each other. So just, I don't know, just appreciating those, I guess, the paradoxes, everything that comes with
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I think that is so true. And I love how you described it because it is. It's like, it is that paradox. It's like I can equally be so obsessed with you and then also understand that I have boundaries and I have to take care of myself
Yeah.
too. Yes, it is
Exactly.
all encompassing.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really, really like some good tips and something to think about because it is really hard. And I think sometimes we
either sugarcoat the hard or we want to forget the hard for some reason. And it's okay to say that it is all hard.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I've definitely appreciated when I run into you. Like, I feel like we're both just like, okay, we drop the kids off, breathe a sigh of relief, and not feel bad about it. Like,
Oh my
it is a
God. And not
journey.
feel bad about it.
Yeah.
Yes, because at the same time, you're like, bye, see you, so happy, but also I'll miss you all day.
Right.
Can't wait to come and get you, but also like, can you put yourself to bed yet? Those are all like real things that is so true. Also, can we take a second? Because I just want to say, I cannot believe, okay, Laura and I are living the parallel lives. It's insane. The moment that I moved here and got our kids in Discovery Point, which was really like a week later, I ran into you and then we just kept running into each other like everywhere.
Yes.
That's right, right?
Yeah,
That's just like what happened for
it
us.
is. And our youngest were in the same class for a little
Yes.
while. And yeah, it's just crazy, like literally across the street. So we're going the same commute to and from. And I don't know. It's very ironic. So, but I love it.
It's my favorite
Yeah.
thing. Same. It's my favorite thing. And we have to get, now that we're like here, or I'm here, you're back from your trip, we have to get everybody together for our dinner. I
Yeah.
am like so
I
excited. I
know. Me
know.
too. Me too. It's gonna happen.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's going to get out of the chat for sure. Um, okay. So, motherhood and motherhood in general. I think how you described is so beautiful around, you already knowing that you wanted to create a family, you already knowing that you wanted to create kind of like little minis. Tell me, can you unravel that just a little bit more of, coming from your point of view, being adopted, and then watching, your own parent parent you and mother you through your years, and now you're here. And I know your parents are still in your life because I see them pick up your
Yeah.
kids all the time. So, so tell me about kind of, yeah, just unravel that a little bit more. Talk more about that type of complexity within creating a family that way.
Sure. I mean, I guess from the start, like I always knew I wanted to have kids. And so finding a partner that wanted that as well was very important to
Yeah.
me. And it's just so crazy because everything that my husband and I talked about, like we said, we wanted 2 kids, and that has come true, and we're good with 2 kids. But I think like part of it too is not only the physical aspect of sharing DNA and having them, just it's cute to be like, oh, they have the same nose as me or whatever, the same
Right.
personalities. I think right now it's um, since Leo is 5, we've had these 5 years to really create this space and create identity that I never really had. So, because growing up, there was no Cambodian stores or restaurants or anything. There's a lot of Thai and Vietnamese, but not a
Right.
lot of Cambodian. But anyway, so my
Right.
husband is Brazilian, and so Brazilians are very proud culture, and I love it. Like I've
Mhm.
completely
Mhm.
become an honorary Brazilian, and I think that has kind of shaped like our family unit too, as far as think traditions that we pass along to our kids. I have,
Right.
my own traditions as a family too, but I think the Brazilian culture is just so strong as far as like language and sports, of
Yeah.
course. And so that's been very neat for me because I never had that as a kid to like really identify with. And so actually this morning we had the cartoons on and there was Mickey Mouse. I think it's Mickey Mouse Roadsters, and they had an episode where they were in Brazil, and it was cute because the kids were like, "Oh my gosh!" Like they're speaking like a couple words in Portuguese, but like I love that they can identify with that, and like as
Mhm.
a family, that's kind of just created like I don't know, just more of our identity and the pride that you're already proud to have your own kids.
Right.
But I think that that's just been like a really beautiful, like, it wasn't planned that way, but just kind of seeing it unfold. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but
No, I think so. And I think that's so beautiful to say because it is about the power of creating,
Mhm.
right? And so you have these little ones and you have your partner and you're figuring out, you're taking things from, what you potentially see, your environment, and then you're saying, okay, this is really what we want to layer in and add in. And I think that's really important that you're already building that community. And that's amazing. That's so good.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it. Okay, so so you always wanted to be a mom. Was your first planned or was he a surprise? And you're raising them with your partner. So tell us about that.
So it was planned, and I'm very much a planner. So it actually went according to plan because you just don't know. It's so
You
funny
don't know.
too, to the point where I actually had a C-section with Leo because it was breech, not because I'm such a planner. But all my friends were like, "Did you plan that?" Like, I mean,
Right, exactly.
he planned it for me, but yeah, we didn't know how long it would take to get pregnant, and we're very
Mhm,
fortunate it happened, I guess, within the first 3 months. We've been
mhm,
married for a year. Um, and once we had Leo, like, that's when you really you get to know your partner more, and seeing Wes become a father has been the most amazing experience. Like, I do feel very lucky that we co-parent very well together, and we parent similarly. Of course, those are all things that you look for in a partner, the values, but I love that the kids are just as obsessed with dad as they are with mom.
yeah.
And I think also part of that journey too is also, like, as amazing as a co-parent as your partner is, like, it still does, I guess for lack of better words, it still does fall on mom. Like, mom does
Mhm,
still take a lot of the mental load as far as knowing what size clothes they're in, or knowing all the details. Lily's learning to talk now. Like, you can kind of translate their broken words
right.
better, type of thing. So I think that's been interesting too, just to see what the strengths are as mom and dad, as partners. But I think that I feel like very fortunate that not only to have a supportive partner, but to be in communities where I see it all the time. I think that's like a really beautiful thing our generation has kind of changed the narrative on. So yeah, I love it.
I it's so crazy that you're saying that because I literally just had this conversation with a woman yesterday about the same thing because it's literally like how lucky are we that the generation of men that we are marrying are very involved. And for like our experience is my mom did everything. She literally did everything. Obviously, my dad was a great dad. He was there. But like if we were in trouble, it was my mom. If we had like a crazy conversation, it was my mom. Like it was literally her end all be all. And walking into parenthood and the overwhelm that I felt, I can't imagine carrying that weight because Dimitri carries like so much in our family. I can't imagine having to do all of what I experienced and then do that in addition to whatever else we have going on. It is so all encompassing. So it is lucky for us and it is fun to see other families that have that type of dynamic and being surrounded by that dynamic as our family grows. I think that's also something that, you know, we're both kind of new to the area. That's definitely something I seek out when we're looking to, be social, as social as we can be. So I think that's so important. And you're totally right. It is, such a such an oddity, and I think we're changing the narrative of how relationships work and how parenting works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, tell me about. Okay, so little Leo, it's so cute. He probably knew you. He was like, I know she's gonna want a planned C-section. So I'm gonna do this one thing, and then she's gonna have to do it. Yeah, it's so cute. Okay, so you had Leo in California, right?
I did. Yeah, he was
Okay.
his birthday, July 17th, 2020. So it was really at the height of the pandemic. I got pregnant right before the world shut down. But it was crazy because, first of all, we'd always wanted to live in California. We made that dream happen through work. And we said we were only going to be there a couple years. Well, we actually did just that. We moved when he was 11 months old. So in 2021, because we basically had enough, like we didn't have our support system. Everyone was back on the East Coast. But it was a wild ride becoming a parent in California during the pandemic. I do feel lucky that we had I don't know if opportunities is the right word, but like, for example, my partner could be in the delivery room, in the surgery
Yeah.
room. He got to come to all my appointments. We didn't have to FaceTime. So there were certain
Oh,
things
wow.
that,
Yeah,
I
that is
definitely,
good.
yeah, I didn't take for granted because I had friends, back on the East Coast that did. They had,
Mhm.
actually, a side note, when I was pregnant, my best friend, my childhood best friend growing up, she lives in Boston and she was also pregnant and she had her son 6 weeks before Leo. So we got to like kind of share stories and just being on separate
Yeah.
coasts, but she had to do the FaceTime thing every time she went to a doctor appointment and,
Oh my
wearing a mask when you are trying to like get the baby to latch and like all this stuff. It was a trip for sure.
Yes, that sounds crazy and so hard. And, 2020, you're right. That's right after everything shut down.
Yeah, it was. And you know, things that we would take for granted, like before kids, we would go on hikes and whatnot. And so having to wear a mask, um, carrying the baby and just navigating like all these new things with the challenge of the world it was just very defining for me because I think at the time I was kind of like, woe is me, because I didn't
Okay.
have friends and I couldn't really make friends because no one was leaving their house. Everyone was being very
Right.
safe. And we just didn't know anything back then. And so but yeah, I say defining because I just take a lot of that and what I learned because now I'm like, oh my gosh, life with two kids, you're in the fast lane. I'm like, I really I do appreciate back then. I mean, and there were certain things like our holidays because it was just the three of us. I'm like, oh, that was really nice. Not that I don't like having a house full of people, but it's like, wow, it's crazy that we had that blip in time of just truly being present and um, like trying to learn all the new things and all the things I was learning. Like I would Google everything
Of
because
course.
that was my outlet. I mean, I had a ton of mom friends, but um, they were all in different corners of the world or of the
Hmm.
country. And so it was just a very different experience. Like even coming to Florida and like I remember having like Leo's first play date, and that was just mind boggling to me because I'm like, oh, here's another mom. Like they do things this way. And I don't know, it was like it was again that paradox of like it was reaffirming. So I'm like, okay, I'm okay, I'm doing okay, but also I'm like, oh, like you know, people have different ways of doing things, and it was refreshing.
Okay, I love it. Well, you guys were in San Diego, right?
We were in San Jose. We were in the Bay.
San Jose. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Some of my very, 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 very best friends are in San
Oh
Jose.
no way.
Um, yes. So, okay. So you were in San Jose and then the world shut down. How long had you been in that area before Leo came?
Less than a year. We moved, well, I guess it was a year. We moved in July of 2019, and then he was born in 2020. And so it was just a very interesting timeline. So July of 2019, and then you have like this short amount of time to try to meet people. And then I got pregnant. So then I was like, well, because you don't know, especially as a first time parent, like I didn't really want to be
Yeah.
meeting people, especially like socially, like with drinking, all this stuff. You don't want to tell
Totally.
people like, oh, by the way, like I'm pregnant. So it was definitely weird. And we did have a
Mhm.
built-in friend there. My husband's childhood best friend lived in San Jose, and they have two kids. And so that was
Nice.
a good support system too. But again, with like the differences in parenting, I think and different ages, their kids are a little bit older. Nonetheless, like that was a great support, but it was still not my friends, you know what I mean? Not my family. So
Totally.
it was different.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's really tough. And then um, California went hard and shut down everything. Um, and then you had your baby just a few months later. I cannot imagine. And then when did you make the move from there?
So we moved in June of 2021. So Leo was 11 months old, and that was another thing. Like, so that was his first flight, actually our first flight ever with him. And so, before kids, we love to travel, and so we thought that's what we're gonna do with a newborn. Just throw him in the airplane, he
Oh
would
my God.
sleep, and we did not have any of that. So it was wild. The
Mhm.
first plane ride, we were moving cross country, and I know you can totally relate, but we had like, our 10 suitcases, never had flown with baby gear. We actually lost the stroller, which was like the least of our problems because we didn't know we were supposed to wait at the gate for it. So like things that, you just don't think about as, you
Oh my
know,
God.
so that was interesting. And then the other thing too, is that Leo was home with me for 18 months. So I had been working from home before the pandemic, but when I had him, of course, daycare just was not even like an option. Yeah. So he was home with me, and that was interesting trying to work. I was actually also filling like two jobs because my boss at the time had just left. So when I came back, they were all like, "Oh, Laura, like we missed you, but here's some more responsibilities." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting 2 hours of sleep." And um, yeah, so that was the exhaustion was real, and I definitely had a burnout in February. I remember very specifically. It was February of 21, and my husband looked at me and was like, you know what you need? You need to go to yoga because the studios had shut down too. And yoga was a
Mhm.
huge part of my life. Um, and I didn't feel comfortable going to, this was before the vaccine, and not to get political, but like, it was just, it was, you don't know, and my level of comfort was just different. So I wasn't going to a yoga studio. And then, ironically, one had opened up downstairs from our apartment, like literally like 3 minutes walking. And so he's like, you know what, you're going there. And then he took me to, you probably know Santana Row in San Jose.
Yeah, oh my God, of course.
Yeah, so he took me there. He took me to Lululemon. He got me a new yoga outfit. And we actually
Cute.
went to our first restaurant like in months. It was a wine bar. I don't even know what it was called there.
Wow.
And like just that alone, the shopping trip, the wine. And then he's like, no, like you really just need to have time for yourself. And I think that was again, like it just stands out because I'm like, wow, like again, I'm very lucky to have this partner that recognized that the burnout was happening. Like, and he had his own issues he was dealing with as far
Of
as
course.
being in the
Yeah.
Bay, which is all tech driven. So the world stopped there as well because he's in hotels, and so he was
Oh man.
also had his own challenges. So yeah, that was crazy.
Okay. So crazy because just like you talking is like taking me back to that mindset, and it was wild times I was kind of right behind you. We had our first in November of 2021, and then we moved in, and then we had moved that May to Texas. So the weight of, I don't know, moving, the weight of postpartum. What was postpartum like? Because that had to have been nuts. It sounded like you had some leave, but what was your kind of postpartum experience like?
Yeah, so I did have some leave. Luckily, I think I took the 3 months, and I really
Yep.
just did use nature as like my place of escape. So we had this great biking trail near us, and I would do all my stroller walks. Luckily, I was working East Coast. Once I went back to work, I was working East Coast hours on the West Coast. So I could finish my day at like 2 o'clock, and I would sign out right at 2 o'clock and just
Yep.
take the stroller and go. But yeah, I mean, especially someone that being an avid yoga enthusiast, coming from that to not having that as part of my postpartum healing, right away was very humbling. And
Mhm.
not having the parents around to just come and relieve you. They each grandparent did make time to see Leo when he was in his newborn phase, so they all came before the 3 months. So there was like some relief, but again, it's so different from now because now it's like, okay, they're here and it's great, but like then it was just like this huge relief. Like it was just crazy to me, like how much you need your village,
Yeah.
and especially not knowing anything about parents, and learning all the new things about this baby. I'm very grateful that they all did make the trip and whatnot. My parents actually they drove cross country because they didn't want to get on a plane. So like they actually drove cross
Oh,
country twice just to
it's
see. And he was the first grandchild for both sides, so that was also a big deal. So imagine like having this uh, a grandchild,
oh,
and then they're all the way across the country. So again, that was like one of the reasons we moved. It's a little crazy that you guys are having to drive to go see him or hop on a plane. So
yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah, it does kind of like change everything.
yeah, I mean that's crazy though that you can also relate so well to
I
moving with a
mean,
baby and the postpartum period.
totally. Totally. So we moved to, okay, so the pandemic hit, okay, and I literally remember I oversaw um stores, and so I had my whole team was out in the field. And so I would like go and oversee them. And I was talking to our CEO and owner at the time, and I was like, "Hey, like this thing is coming. I think we need to prepare. Like we need to have a plan because all of my team is out in the world. Like we've got to have a plan for them." And he was just like, he's like, "Oh, don't worry. Like I think we'll be fine." He's like, "Just, have something to go, and if anything happens, like we'll talk about it." And I'm like, "Okay, perfect." And then literally like the next day, it wasn't even like a week. It was the next day they had shut down LA. And then I worked from home. From a work perspective, we actually were able to keep our whole staff on. We like reworked how we sold stuff. We like killed it. But for Dimitri and I, we were like, okay, I think this is kind of our time. We knew that we had wanted to start a family. We knew that LA was probably not the place we wanted to raise our kids. Mostly just due to the infrastructure of the city. Like you don't send your kids to public school and you have to have like a nanny. Like it's very difficult. And so we decided to make the move, and everyone from LA was moving to Texas, like literally everyone, in Austin specifically. So we were like, hey, we can move anywhere. I did not want anywhere with snow at all. Been there, done that too
Mhm.
many times, over it. And so Austin was where we landed. And then once we moved in June. We had our first in November, took mat leave. By the time I was done with my mat leave, I was pregnant with my
Oh
second
my
one.
God.
And then I was traveling. And then you're like, what is happening? And I totally had those moments too, where it's like the whole weight of everything and what you think your life is going to be like and what potential support you need. There was no meeting people. There's no meeting people. I would have loved to have met people. The time that we did spend, in Austin, I would have loved. And we talk about it all the time. If we moved there pre kiddos, we probably would have had like a whole life and a whole alternative life essentially. But because we didn't have that opportunity, it was like we've just got to move on with our life. And that next move for us was being closer to my in-laws here and some of the support that we could find here. But it was some crazy times making those moves and making those changes with babies in tow. Like, how does that even happen? I don't know how anybody does it. I don't even know how we did it.
No, exactly. I'm like, when I look back, I'm like, that you did it, but it's not easy. And then a side note too, that it's funny you're saying that about like, right before everything hit, because
Yeah.
we actually, so we were living in California. We were visiting, my brother lives in Austin, Texas. And we went
Okay.
there in March, I guess it was early March. And we're all like, we hear about this thing about COVID, but no one really knew. And we're all sitting at a beautiful outdoor table, outside restaurant. And we got a text message that South by Southwest had been canceled. And we're like, okay, this thing is real. And it was just very interesting to be sitting in Austin and get that message.
Yes.
And I think, and because I was pregnant at the time, my mom, like, she sent me back on the plane with a face mask. But again, it was before everyone was wearing face masks. So I was like,
Right.
what is this? And so, yeah, and then the rest of the world changed. And that was our last trip before we actually moved to Florida. So crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. And so I posted this on social, and when your episode comes out, I got to post it again because it's so true. But it's literally like the people that have had families and kids specifically, like during the pandemic, like were built different. And it was kind of like you're already heightened because of the anxiety and whatever that comes with being a new parent. But then you layer on a crazy disease and the whole world shutting down and isolation. Like you are a we have experienced, you specifically, even more so than me, have experienced like a very different initiation into parenthood and what our, parenthood journey will continue to become, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, especially with having a child after that, I'm sure for you too, it's like a different experience because the
Mm.
world has had changed since the first. So, but I mean, yours were very close together. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's all like one big blur.
yeah.
um, but okay, so you guys moved to Florida. How did you move to Florida? Do you guys is your family here or is it just like East Coast hours?
So my parents they're snowbirds, so they're in St. Augustine,
Oh,
Florida. So
nice.
they're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
I lived in Florida before. I lived in St. Augustine right after college. So it was 2010 to like 16, no, 15, 2015.
Mhm.
So my parents are retired, so they'll come down like once a month when they're here during most of the year. And so that was the
Mhm.
trip that we just did to go to their place in Rhode Island. So that's where they are during the summer. And also just being on the East Coast, my in-laws, they all live in Connecticut. And so it's just a very easy
Oh,
2.5 hour
nice. Yeah.
flight, straight shot up there. And now that our airport has, added more flights, there's actually a direct flight from here to New Haven, Connecticut. And it's been
Wow.
a huge game changer. Just the fact that they can literally come here for the weekend and relieve us
Mhm.
of whatever and enjoy time together. But yeah, that was it's nice that we have so much family, and we also have family in Miami and Tampa, so everyone is close.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like that far out of the realm of possibility to
Yeah.
like land here. Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of what you're saying, like we knew we didn't want to raise a family in this other area, so we had always talked about Florida as being a landing place, and it just
Mhm.
the timeline just got moved up because of everything.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, great. And so you move and you're here. How, I know it was a little bit different here than in California. How did that kind of work out for you guys?
It's interesting you ask that because it was a culture shock at first. Coming from
Yes.
California in that time in 2021, where things were still very much shut down and masks and all
Mm-hmm.
that. So going anywhere here, it was like it was almost like a movie. You get to Florida and everyone on the plane takes their mask off and you're like, what is happening? But then and
Mm-hmm.
then it became used to it. And I'm like, oh, like now I kind of see why people like are so happy in the Sunshine State because it's just a different dynamic. But yeah, coming here and still working from home with the baby
Mm-hmm.
not in daycare, that
Oh my
was, interesting. It was definitely challenging because so we got here and he finally started daycare in January of 22. And so that also was obviously super helpful, but it was crazy because, I'm sure you had the same experience, like you could letting
Mhm.
go of these littles and it felt
Mhm.
like they were going to college,
Mhm.
but that has really helped me, just be daycare is part of our village. So that has helped me
Right.
tremendously. And the fact that we love our daycare is another huge
Yeah,
bonus.
I know. I know, thank God. Did you hear that they're opening up a second location?
Yeah, I'm so proud of them. That's
I know.
awesome.
Me too. I'm proud of them too. I was like, "Okay, yay."
Yeah.
Um, okay. Yes. Yes to all of that. That it is insane. And then you start to build the village and you're still working, which is wonderful. When did things start to settle and when did you start to think about little one number 2?
So I guess things started to settle maybe like a year into Leo being in daycare and whatnot,
Mhm.
finally finding a rhythm like with new jobs and well, my husband's new job and then me being at home. I was taking like quarterly trips up to my offices in DC. So just kind of all navigating that. And so we thought, okay, 2 years might be a good age gap, but honestly, at 2 years, we weren't ready yet. So we were just
Mm,
really enjoying Leo, and I think we were finally getting to do the things that we'd always talked about, like traveling and whatnot. And we were getting into this like
right.
great groove. Like I think one of the last things, like we didn't have to bring a stroller on a trip, so that was like
Oh
a
my
huge
God,
relief.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then we were like,
sounds wonderful.
yeah, and it is. But then we're like, okay, now we're ready to add to the circus, if you will. And so
Yeah.
we planned Lily. Yeah, so it kind of again the timing worked out because we wanted more than 2 years, and so they're exactly 3 years apart, and they're both summer babies. So yeah, so we were just ready at that point, and uh, we always there's a boys run in my husband's family, so we always thought, okay, we're gonna have two little boys. So when we found out we're having a girl, that was also like changed our world too. And she's amazing. She's sassy and
She's literally
amazing.
the cutest thing in the entire world. It's
Thank you.
crazy. She's so perfect. Okay, I love, love, love. Tell me, so for somebody who's like sitting there and saying like, "Oh, I want to potentially have another one. I don't want to have another one." When you say you weren't ready at 2 years, what what were like those indicators for you guys?
I think honestly, it was a lot of the postpartum stuff. Like I was finally
Yeah.
coming into my own or back into my own with my body and feeling good.
Mhm.
And I just, I think about stories like yours where it's like, okay, you literally just got it all done, but I needed a time to breathe, and it was great because I did get back into like my love for yoga, and I was going, I think 2 or 3 days a week, and just I don't know, we just needed that space, and like I think at the same time too with Leo, like we were just truly enjoying that. And so we're like, are we really ready to like throw, another little baby into the mix. But I also didn't want to wait too long and so I'm glad that it all worked out how we had really planned and prayed for. So um, I think, yeah, there's definitely something to be said about giving yourself that grace, because for us, that's what we needed. And now they're here, and it's like it's crazy too, like to see the change from her being a baby to now keeping up with the oldest. And it's like, wait, how did, like, she's not in high chair. Like, I remember the first time I put them at the little table to eat and she's like feeding herself. I'm like, okay, it just happens like that. Like, it
Yeah.
goes by so much quicker with the second, of course, but just seeing them together it's amazing. Well, most of the time. when you're not
Yeah.
when you're not refereeing, let's be real.
Yes, exactly. Most of the time, and how we dream and envision it is that's the cutest.
Yeah.
Um, so great, and I think that's something that I want to pause at because, um, getting back into your body, and you've already talked about, and this is me assuming, so please correct me because I'm stalking you on social, is your yoga and how like that is like definitely like a part of you, and when you specifically that practice really does help you focus on breath and body and whatnot and kind of naturally bring you back into that space. But how was that evolution for you, especially when you think about your first experience compared to your second? What are some things that you did or some things that you didn't like anticipate?
Um, I mean, you're spot on with what you just said, with just the healing and everything that yoga does do and how you can carry it into life. But I think for me too, is that it was just learning the humility, learning, I was very humbling to, I actually did yoga so intensely. I did competitive yoga. That is a thing.
You did? Oh,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about competitive yoga
I
because
know.
I don't even understand that.
So it's very interesting. So it was a practice for many hundreds of years back in India, and it is a way to present your love for yoga. You're really practicing being in the present moment. And so, of course, as with everything that's brought into the Western world, it has its own spin and it's
Sure.
but it's like gymnastics where you get up on a stage and you do certain poses and you're judged based on strength, balance, and flexibility. So there's different levels to the advanced postures and whatnot. And so I did that like right before I met my husband. I like to say yoga was my boyfriend, because I was like, I spent all the time at the studio, like hours and hours and hours, and was doing
Wow.
like these crazy, just crazy advanced poses. And so
Mhm.
stepping back from that, even before kids, like learning that, with a partner, like you can't spend all your time at a studio. Like, so
Yeah.
I think that kind of carried into parenthood, as far as just taking a step back and really just being like, okay, like you need to, not you need to, but it's just a different focus. And I
Mhm.
think yoga has mostly taught me to be in that present moment, and just to learn that, I don't know, I just feel like everything is so like applicable from yoga to motherhood, like how your
Yeah.
body used to be. For example, the poses that I used to be able to do, I can't do them now. And I'm like, I'm fine with that now. I'm at peace with that now. But before, like when I was in my 20s, like that would have been devastating. Like, what is wrong with me? Like,
Mhm.
and I think that's the same for motherhood. Like activities you used to do or things that you used to do are just different now. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just do it in a different manner, or it maybe can't be done at the same depth, but you are still, your love for that is still there. So anyway, that's all to say, like, I think that yoga has just helped overall, just becoming present, humble, compassionate. And those are things that, I tried to teach my children as well, of course. But yeah, I just think it's really neat how it kind of can translate into parenthood.
Yeah, it's so cool. I did I definitely not competitive and honestly not religiously, but I did do like some studying of yoga and then got into it for a bit. And the thing that I was always struck by the practice, and there are moments when I go back to it, but this level of mastery that yoga has and kind of like moving through, you're right, like moving through each pose, and I'm not sure the language behind it, but the level of mastery that you have to get to, like you can't just hop in and be like, okay, I did yoga. It's like you've got to understand how to move your body. You've got to be in touch with your body. You've got to like, do it puts you in a different mind space than I think a lot of I don't know, like hit workouts or like cycling would put you at. And when you are talking about being humbled and like not being able to do certain poses, was that something that you thought was going to happen or something that you had to work through?
I think it was something that I had to work through. I think
Hmm.
it kind of just became a natural progression. Like I'm not going to the studio as much. I'm also getting older, so I can't just,
Right.
whip into whatever flexible pose. But I think it was a process, and one
Hmm.
that I kind of like learned to accept as I was going through it. And it is
Hmm.
interesting, like even when I go now, just to see, honestly, like younger students, and just to be like, oh, like that was me at one time, and like I do. I don't know if it's cliche, but like I do love my body now more as a mom because of everything that it can do. So like I'm okay with the fact that maybe I can't
Yeah.
do that advanced posture, but it was definitely a process.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, I can imagine. I did one of the things that really drove me crazy about yoga is because I was so frustrated with the mastery piece. It like took my toxic perfectionism, not like the productive,
Hmm.
but the toxic perfectionism, and like it was not cute. Like I was like stressed. I was like, not looking forward to the class, which is all things you shouldn't be doing. I was like really concerned if I could keep up. I was like practicing outside of the class in like this kind of like neurotic way. And so I was like, okay, clearly this is not a good relationship. I will go and get yelled at by the spin instructor instead. But it was like one of those things that I think anybody that is really into yoga, I think has like such a strong like mental capacity and then that mind body connection. I think is so powerful when you are practicing all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you do yoga while you were pregnant?
I did,
I
especially with
love that.
Leo. I definitely did it more. Well, I shouldn't say that. I did it. It was just different because I did it at home with Leo,
Right.
and once the studio had shut down, I did all the online classes, and whatnot.
Hmm.
And then with Lily, I guess I just wasn't going as much, but I would still go into the studio and I practiced like basically, I think the week before I had her. So I think that also helped with postpartum as far as healing and whatnot. But yeah, I was that crazy lady like doing just like weird like headstands and stuff, like with this huge belly. But it was fun for
Oh my
me, because
I need to
again,
see pictures.
oh my gosh, I
I
have
need to see pictures of you doing that because I bet those are one gorgeous. Okay, those are the pictures that need to be in here when I like announce you. I'm
yeah,
sure they're gorgeous and that's so cool. That's the coolest thing.
yeah, I love that you did yoga too, so that it's relatable. That's amazing.
Yes. Yes. Ugh, gorgeous. The next thing I'd want to talk to you about is just like work wise, just relationship with your career, your job. What has that been like as you kind of take on more responsibility with motherhood?
Yes. Okay. So I I've been fortunate to I've been working from home. Hold on, let me think. So I've been in my same company for almost 14 years.
Ooh, love
So
that.
yeah, it's interesting timing right now too because of all the changes in the world, I'm kind of honestly going through
Right.
an existential crisis of
Oh, man.
what, I've put in this amazing time. I've had this great career, but I'm definitely going through this experience where I'm like, okay, what is next type of thing.
Right.
So that's another sidebar. But once I became a mother, like, I mean, I always knew I was going to continue working and whatnot. And
Mhm.
I think motherhood has changed it in the fact that I, I guess I'm trying to normalize, like, I don't know, this is unpopular opinion, but not like climbing the corporate ladder and like normalizing not being the super stressful roles. And so I say that because there's been opportunities I've had that I've turned down, and I'm totally fine with that. Like, my number one job is being a mom. And
Mhm.
for me, again, balance, I know for anyone it is big, but my partner has the super demanding job. And so for me, it's important that I have the one that complements that and that can attend to, everything that the kids need. And so I think that's been the biggest change in my career since motherhood, is that I'm fine
Yeah.
with just, it's important to me to maintain my work level, but and I guess just again the identity. Like, I've always had, I've been at this company for so long, and so I think motherhood had just kind of made me take a step back, so to speak. And,
Mhm.
there'll be time um, for whatever changes we want to make in the future. But especially now, the kids are so little, and
I know.
just, really enjoying the ride at this point, and being able to have a job that supports that. I'm glad that um, for many years it's been able to do that. But more recently, it's not my actual bosses that are supportive, it's the leadership at a different level that is not supportive. So that has,
Oh,
really just thrown me for a loop. So, as you know, we've candidly talked about in our run. So it's been interesting.
oh my god, I know. Okay, if you were to leave, is there, like, something that you wanna do?
$1 million question.
I
I don't know.
know.
The thing is that I feel like I have so many different like interests. But I guess
Mhm.
the one that's the most tangible right now is that we have rental properties. So we actually have
Mm.
two Airbnbs in Sarasota. And
Mhm.
so because Wes works in hospitality, like, he runs those, it's very easy for him to
Right.
manage those. And so I do like the little details, like decor and inventory and all that. But I feel like there's more that I could do. And so I don't know, maybe building a brand on that. I
Cute.
never, there's so many things, like going back to yoga. I still have never done a yoga training. So I'm like, maybe I'll pursue that. And not that I want to teach per se, but just to dive deeper into that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. It's just, and I have this whole, like, the work that I do is administration or budget. So I mean, I have
Mhm.
an extensive background in that as well. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's just anything outside your comfort zone obviously is scary. So I think that is also why I stay. It's like the unknown is like scarier than um, the latter. So it's just, yeah,
Right, I know. It's so tough.
yeah.
It's so tough. That's really cool. Well, that's exciting that there's other options that you're thinking of, but yeah, of course, a risk is a risk is a risk. I mean, it's all crazy.
Mhm. Sure.
Okay, I love it. Now I would love to kind of just like in retrospect, is there anything that you would, so for somebody who is considering a move or considering starting a family or is like just pregnant with their first, is there any type of advice that you would give that person specifically?
I would say, honestly, just that you will find your way, and your way, you feel empowered in the way that you do things, because I think that having a family and starting that journey is, I obviously everyone's getting to that is different and there's a lot of challenges, but like once you are there, it's just the most amazing thing to be a parent and to own that. Like, I think going back to like talking about family, I think that was one of the
Yeah.
things that was just kind of my learning curve. It's like, okay, you rely on the knowledge of others, but it's like you figure it out on your own, and that way is what works for your family. And so I think that's my, I guess, biggest like advice. Like, yes, take those bits and pieces, but you weave it in a way that works for you. And I don't know, it's cool to see like how people can be so similar again, but also do things like certain things like differently. And I just like that. I don't know, again, going back to the support system that like you kind of have those shared experiences, but to each their own, right? So like I think just being a mom has really helped with learning that and learning the power in, and I don't mean like control, I mean just like the overall power of how that journey is like just the most amazing. And like I was talking about in the beginning about being so deep into each of these aspects that you knew come with parenthood, like love and sleep deprivation and whatnot, but just how different it is when you're actually in those moments.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really advice, but I think the biggest takeaway is that it rocks your world like you just wouldn't
Yeah.
really, you can't imagine, but in the best
Yeah.
ways for sure.
Ugh. So well said, honestly. So well said. And you're right. I think there's something that you're talking about that I'm just going to tell you that you're saying. There's like a little like thread, and it's this thread of like creation and like cultivating kind of like your own world and your own mentality. And I think when you become a parent and specifically a mom, I think the weight of that can be earth shattering, like the responsibility of it all. And then leaning in and finding the joy of it all is, I mean, I think it's like the best gift to be able to give to your kiddos and your family.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's like totally exactly what you're saying. It's beautiful. I love it. Okay. What is one parenting myth that you wish would go away?
I think actually, I don't know if this is like two part, but the fact, like before I became a mom, which is one of the questions you asked before, is like I had a lot of people in my ear saying like, "You're never going to get to do this again," or "You can't do it that way."
Oh.
And I think that's probably the biggest like myth or taboo thing. Like I wish people wouldn't say like all the negatives. Of course,
Mhm,
yes, there were people saying like, "Oh my God, it's going to be love that you've never experienced," but I
mhm,
wish more people would say, like, you can still do the things that you did before. You just will find a different way. And that's totally fine. And yeah, I mean, for us, I guess the biggest example is like traveling, just hearing people say, like, okay, you can't do that anymore. Like, yes, it requires, it's harder and it requires more planning, but the joy that you find in like taking these littles to these new places or places that you've been before, like your childhood experiences. Like, for example, we just went up to Rhode Island, and that's where I fell in love with the ocean. So it was like
mhm,
cool to see that and seeing the world through your kids' eyes. Like, yes, that comes with tantrums and other things, and you're packing
mhm,
a million snacks. But like for me, I love it. I love the chaos, which is to your point, like with the podcast, like embracing it. And
mhm.
there's never been a trip where I'm like, oh, I regretted taking that. But yes, I feel exhausted after, but that comes and goes, and then you have girl
Totally.
time or whatever time, and you're back. So
I love it. It's so true. Okay, what would you say to the parent then that's like, well, my kids won't remember this trip?
I would say you're still building core memories, and that you as a parent, like it's almost more. um, refreshing for you, like to go on those trips. Like you're maybe the kid won't remember it, but talking about it and starting those traditions of the family. I mean, even with Leo, because he's at the age where he's asking a million questions, he's like, oh, like I went to Brazil when I was a baby. And I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, and then we'll get to go see my cousins again, like in a couple years, because we're trying to go every 2 years. So I think like to the parent that says like maybe the kid won't remember it, like that's okay. You still have those memories as a family, and you can still keep building on those, you know. And so I think, yeah, there's something to be said about just um, still doing it for yourself too. And I don't think that's selfish. I think that's like part of having a family, like being able to do things for yourself and also for your kids and the people that especially you're sharing it with. For us, like when we go to visit family, like that's amazing experience for them as well.
I love it. Beautiful and so well said. And, you know, I was definitely reminded of that on this trip. Like, is this the trip I would have picked? I doubt it. But am I so happy we did it? 1,000,000%. And for all of those reasons. One, because yes, you get to see like the excitement in them and obviously all the pictures, but then looking around the people, like around people that are so excited to celebrate in your kids and in you and in your family, that's like so priceless. That's so fun.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, if you could sum up parenthood in one word, what would it be?
Hmm. I think I would probably go back to the word paradox because it is that
Mm.
push and pull or pull and tug, whatever, you know, maybe of just loving so deeply and also just trying to find your patience in one
Mm.
moment. And so I think, yeah, it's just like such a journey of striking that balance and really appreciating those joyful moments, which I feel like there's more of those always because those are the ones that stand out than the ones of you know cleaning sticky hands and all that. So I don't know. For me, it's fun because, again, like going back to your original question, like because I always wanted to be a mom, like we're in it, like we're actually in it right
Yeah.
now. And
Mhm.
I mean, I think about that a lot, and I think that, especially with social media, like there's so many
Mhm.
reminders of like, okay, your kids are only little
Mhm.
for this long or whatever.
Oh god. Yeah.
And it makes you cry every time, but I'm like, or it also
Totally.
makes you wonder, like, okay, am I doing enough? But I do
Yeah.
think that they are just good, like humble or gentle reminders of how fleeting it all is.
Yeah. I read this quote and I keep sharing it because it's like it kind of like hit me in a way that was just like you're going to know your kids as adults longer than you will know them as a 3-year-old, as a kindergartner, as a grade schooler, as a high schooler. Like it's just, and I was like, oh my God. Like you're
Right.
right. Like you only have this moment. The rest is their adult life, which is also very exciting, I'm sure, to be a parent of an adult kid. But you know, these little moments right now are gone in a second.
Yeah, I love that. And to add to that, I've seen things too where it's like someday your kid is going to be telling what it was like, to be raised by you. And it's like,
Right.
not only make it worth their storytelling, but it's like you're getting to relive that and getting to create that narrative for them, which is
Yeah.
also just crazy in itself. But it's such a blessing.
Totally. Okay. And then one last question is where do you feel like you are crushing it?
I feel like I am crushing it.
And I don't know if that word like just totally dates me, but I love it. And
Actually, yeah, I don't think I've heard anyone say that one, but I love it. I,
we're bringing it back, okay?
yes, yes. Um, I would say I'm a great multitasker. So, and doing okay, and it's funny because I feel like I would feel more strongly on this about a month ago. before I return to the office. But I would say just
Got it.
doing all the things and making sure, just work is attended to, motherly duties, wife, whatever responsibility.
Yeah.
But and creating those moments for the kids too, because again, with their ages, like they want to know what's happening after school. Like, are we doing something fun? Like they're always
I know.
doing something. So I guess it's interesting because where I'm crushing it is also what I don't know how to word it, but it's like what also gets me because it's like they're so used to doing all these fun things that now like you have to keep up that momentum. But it's good. I'm glad that like Leo is like, okay, who are we gonna hang out with today? What are we gonna do?
So cute.
And not just wanting to come home and, you know, watch TV, although sometimes that is also an option for sure. It's just fascinating to hear someone else's story and
Okay,
how
right?
different. So I love what you're doing. So
Ugh,
and side note, that is actually
thank
what I've
you.
been listening to on my drives home. So thank you for
Oh
giving
my
me
god.
something to look forward to be honest, because going into the office.
Well, it is, and I think that's what I mean, you already know my story, is it's just like I felt so lost, and I literally felt like I was the only one, and then as I started to kind of, like, see the light of day and that things are temporary and you will move through it and it's not always that hard and all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
then I wanted to know about everybody else's experience. And then as I started to, like, casually ask people, like, there's so many stories of just, like, I mean, just astounding, like, strength or, like, incredible hardship where you're like, "Holy cow," and you just walk around like a regular person? Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I love it. I've gotten, like, so nerdy about it to I mean, it's embarrassing. It's literally all I wanna talk about it with everybody. If they're, like, holding a baby, I'm like, "Oh my god, tell me the whole thing.
Yes.
What happened? Where are you at? How are you feeling? I need to know it all." Because it's fascinating. And it's just I don't know, it's just not talked about.
It's not. And actually, I guess kind of circling back to one of the questions you're asking about postpartum, I think
Yeah,
that too is something that people really don't talk about. And I remember I have a lot of just very honest friends, and I remember texting them or calling them and be like, you need to tell me like what are the things that people are not talking about? Like people are not posting like about, just the all the healing and everything that comes afterwards. And
yeah,
luckily I did have
yes.
some like very candid conversation with
That's good.
moms that had come before, and but I needed to hear that because
Mhm.
those are the things that are not talked about. And so that for me was helpful because again with the planning, like I just needed to know the full picture, not just the pretty parts. But that was, yeah, that was helpful to have that community. But it's also interesting too because like you're saying, like you can still feel isolated or alone when you have like amazing family and friends, but when you're
Totally.
living it, it's not, it's just different.
It's so different. I know. It is. Okay, girl, well, see you at pickup
Yeah,
probably.
exactly. In a few hours, but it was so
Exactly.
good to talk to you. So,
Uh, yeah, so good. I'll see you soon.
all right, bye.
Thanks for listening to It's a Circus. If today's episode made you feel a little less alone, share it with a friend who might need it too. We are building something amazing at the Turner Brothers Circus, an entire space designed for parents to find connection, laughter, and support. I'd love for you to be a part of it. Remember, you're doing better than you think. Stay grounded, stay real, and embrace that beautiful mess. And as always, the show must go on. Until next time.